Hello again. Boy, did we luck out this weekend. We came to our condo on Canandaigua Lake. You can see the canal right behind me here that leads directly out into the lake. There's no boats in the water yet because it's too early, otherwise, our boat would actually be sitting right behind me. But anyway, it's been such an incredibly beautiful weekend here. And I mentioned to you last week how much I love to be outside. So I thought, good, I'm going to make my video for you outside today. And show you where we like to spend our time here too, because it's just a great place. But anyway, let's talk about your research papers. We're getting down to crunch time now. They're actually due this coming weekend, 24th, 25th, 26th. I asked you to get them into my mailbox at Trocare, or mail them to me. I need them in my hands. Well, I will take them out of my mailbox next week, Monday. I think that is the 27th. Yeah, I'll take them out of my mailbox next week, Monday, at Trocare. So, I go in later on in the day. So if you're around Trocare on Monday, feel free to put it in my mailbox anytime up to like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That way it'll get to me. I gave you an address to mail it to me if you want to do that, okay? And I gave you my home address, or if you want to drop it off at my home, you can do that too. If you're going to drop it off at my home, I would suggest that you probably, you can drop it off, Monday morning, Monday afternoon, or over the weekend, but no later than like 2:30, 3 o'clock Monday if you're going to drop it at my house, okay? And as I said to you before, leave it between my doors if there's nobody home. It's very likely there'll be nobody home. I won't be there. I don't know if my wife will be there, but that's okay. Feel free to leave it between the doors. My house is number 60. We have a storm door and a front door, and the doors are wood. They're stained wood color and they are wood. So feel free to do that. If you have any questions, any problems on a research paper between now and then, feel free to email me or text me or call me and ask me, okay? I've gotten a few things from a few people, not a ton, but a few, and that's fine. I told you to feel free to do that. Now, with your paper, again, we're talking a research paper. We've been saying this all semester, so all of the information you take from somebody else, which is almost everything in your paper, even if it's entirely in your own words, it's still somebody else's idea. You have to tell where it comes from. And this is not a report. This is not a personal opinion paper. So most of the things in your paper should be documented, and you do that through the parenthetical references that we talked about last week when, in the video, okay? This week we want to talk about how you set up a works cited. Okay, your works cited is a list of the materials that you take information from and use in your paper. There is a sample works cited list in your textbook on page 233. It shows you what a works cited page should look like. Okay, but I have some props to help you with that too. Now, in the beginning, when we first started research paper, I gave you a format for taking information, and I told you to create bibliography cards with only one work on a card. I told you a specific way to do it: author, last name first, first name, title, name of the work, or title of the work, publishing company, city of publication, publishing company, date. I told you to put stuff in this order, okay? Can you see? Yeah, you should be able to see that. I'm getting a reflection, but I think you should be able to see it. Let me make sure the whole thing's in front of you. Let me look at it from this side. Yeah, I think you can see all that. Okay, so it shows you here what it should look like. We have the author's last name, then the author's first name, the title of the work, the city of publication, the publishing company, and the date. That's the order that you put things in, okay? You don't always have all that stuff. A lot of your stuff is coming from the internet, and so for internet stuff, you put things in that same order for as much as you have, but you would have the title of the article, and you might only have a title of an article and a web address, and the date. That might be all you have. Or you might have a work that it came from, that you got from the web, okay? But you do it in this set order, okay? So there are samples in your text of every possible works cited method you might use. But what I showed you on top here is the order that things should go in, okay? So, that's the way you want to set it up. Whatever you don't have, you don't have. So if you have a work without an author, that's okay. Then you'd start with the title, okay? Now, there are samples in your book and explanations going from page 195 up to 223. It shows you every possible sample, 194 up to 223. I have that written down there, okay? You can see that 194 through 223. Samples of every possible works cited entry. And again, a sample works cited page on 233. Okay, so in putting together a works cited page, other than following the correct form, what do you need to think about? Items go into your works cited. Is this showing up? Yeah. In alphabetical order, okay? By the first thing in the entry. So, if you have authors for everything, then you alphabetize the authors' names, last name first, and they go in alphabetical order by that. If you have an author, and then the next one you don't have an author, but you do it by title, then it'll fall into alphabetical order by where the title will fall, etc. Okay? So there's samples of all of this stuff in your textbook. So, make sure you look at it all. Okay, so anyway, you do it in alphabetical order. Okay? Second thing is that you do not number the items in your works cited entries. Okay, you do not number them. You put them in alphabetical order, but you don't number them. Okay, get that? So just put them in alphabetical order. You should have a minimum of 6 sources that you took information from. Okay. The third thing is you double space all the way through your works cited. So within each entry you double space, and then you start the next entry another double space down. Do not double space between entries. So often students do that where they'll have an entry and then they'll double space before they start the next entry. No, the lineup is the same as it is right in your text where everything is double spaced all the way through. Okay? The fourth thing I want to make sure you understand, you use reverse indentation. What do I mean by reverse indentation? Okay? Normally, and hopefully, you had pencil and paper. If not, then, get yourself pencil and paper and go back through this video and watch it again to write that stuff down. But normally, when you start something new, you indent the first line 8 spaces, and each succeeding line goes to the margin. In works cited, it is exactly the opposite. The first line in each entry starts at the margin. If your entry goes down to a second line, that second line is indented 8 spaces, and then if that same entry goes down to a third line, that's indented 8 spaces. And then when you go down and you start another new entry, that starts over at the margin. So it's reverse indentation. That's the form. And again, make sure you look at the sample in your textbook, and there's a sample research paper in your paper so you can see samples of documentation, but then there's a sample works cited page on page 233. Okay, I said that earlier, but on 233 there's a sample works cited. Notice it's all in alphabetical order by the first thing in the entry. In that sample works cited, the first one starts out, it's written by Alan Brown, the Deja Vu Experience, and then the next one starts out with 3 dashes. There's no author there, okay? Those 3 dashes mean the same author as the author just above it. So Alan Brown actually wrote 3 books that are used in this sample student's research paper. And in the first one, Alan Brown was listed. The second time Alan Brown is listed in your works cited, it's just 3 dashes. And the third time he's listed again, it's just 3 dashes. Okay? You look from there on, we had B, then Carey, Cleary, Flora, Glenn, Johnson, Lemonick, O'Connor, and over onto the next page. They're in alphabetical order by the first thing in the entry. That's how you set up your works cited. Okay, make sure you do it that way. Internet, if you don't have an author, then you do it by the title. If you don't have a title, you only have a web address, then you do it by the web address and the date that you got it. Okay, the idea is that I want to be able to find where you found every piece of material that you find. You give references to specific pages and such in your parenthetical references, but your works cited is a list of all of the sources you used: books, magazines, periodicals, web articles, interviews, whatever. Okay, that just the naming of the sources goes on that works cited page. So please look carefully at your text. It does a great job explaining this. If you have questions, if you call me on the phone, that's great. You have my cell, 861-8648. If you don't get me, please leave a message, and when I find your message, I'll call you back. You know, I'm not always available. I'm in class sometime. I'm doing other things sometimes, but I check my phone semi-frequently. So you will hear back from me, okay? Say your phone number, say it slowly so that I can hear it, okay? And any questions, call me. Otherwise, I'll look forward to getting your papers next weekend. Thanks.